BB Warfield. A little about the man. I was thinking about doing some videos and audios on my podcast about BB Warfield's writings, so I thought I would start by telling you about the man behind the writings. These notes are from a book by Jessica Parks entitled BB Warfield: A Guide to His Life and Writings. Jessica Parks starts out by summarizing BB Warfield's life. Benjamin Breckinridge Warfield (1851–1921) was a prolific writer, accomplished scholar, and ranks as one of America's greatest theologians. After studying mathematics and science at Princeton University, he enrolled at Princeton Theological Seminary in 1873, where he was taught by Charles Hodge, in order to train for ministry as a Presbyterian minister. He later returned to America and taught at Western Theological Seminary, now Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. In 1881, Benjamin B. Warfield co-wrote an article with A. A. Hodge (1823–1886) on the inspiration of Scripture, a subject which dominated his scholarly pursuits throughout the remainder of his lifetime. When A. A. Hodge died in 1887, Warfield became a professor of theology at Princeton, where he taught from 1887 until 1921. History remembers Warfield, often referred to as the Lion of Princeton, as one of the last great Princeton theologians prior to the seminary's reorganization and the split in the Presbyterian Church. Warfield is known as one of Reformed theology's most ardent defenders. The foundation to Warfield's theology was his adherence to Calvinism as supported by the Westminster Confession of Faith, and much of his writings are centered on this. He has authored many books in his lifetime, including an introduction to the textual criticism of the New Testament, Westminster Doctrine and Holy Scripture, tractates by A. A. Hodge and B. Warfield, and the titles included in the B. Warfield collection. Looking at his life history with a timeline. Childhood, 1851–1868, November 5, 1851, Warfield is born near Lexington, Kentucky. His parents were William Warfield and Mary Cabell Breckinridge. Education and early life, 1868–1879, 1868, Warfield enters Princeton University, where he studies mathematics and physics. 1871, Warfield graduates from Princeton University with high honors. 1872, Warfield decides to enter into ministry while traveling in Europe. September 1873, Warfield enters Princeton Seminary to train as a Presbyterian minister. 1875, Warfield is licensed to preach by the Presbytery of Ebenezer in Kentucky and serves as a supply pastor for a brief period. May 1876, Warfield graduates from Princeton Seminary. August 3, 1876, Warfield marries Annie Pierce Kincaid. The newlyweds travel to Germany, where Warfield studies under Christoph Ernst Luthart and Franz Delitzsch at the University of Leipzig. 1877, Warfield serves as assistant pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Baltimore, Maryland. April 26, 1879, Warfield is ordained by the Presbytery of Ebenezer in Kentucky. Professor at Western Theological Seminary, 1879–1887, 1879, Warfield is appointed as a professor in New Testament at Western Theological Seminary. Warfield holds the position of Professor of New Testament and Literature. 1880, Warfield receives his Doctor of Divinity from the College of New Jersey. 1881, Warfield writes Inspiration with A. A. Hodge. This article increases Warfield's scholarly reputation and begins his lifelong defense of the inspiration and inerrancy of the Bible. Professor at Princeton Theological Seminary, 1887–1921, 1887, Warfield becomes professor at Princeton Seminary. After the death of his friend A. A. Hodge, Warfield is offered the position of Charles Hodge Chair of Theology. He was the fourth principal of Princeton Seminary and also held the position of Professor of Didactic and Polemic Theology. 1889, Warfield joins editorial staff of the Presbyterian Review. The Presbyterian Review is discontinued later that year. 1890, Warfield becomes chief editor of the newly created The Presbyterian and Reformed Review. November 11, 1915, Warfield's wife, Annie, dies. February 16, 1921, Warfield dies in Princeton, New Jersey. He continued to teach even up to the day of his death. He is buried alongside his wife at Princeton Cemetery. As far as his family goes, his father, William Warfield, 1827–1907, he was a cattle breeder. His mother was Mary Cabell Breckinridge, 1828–1902. And he had one brother, Ethelbert Dudley Warfield, 1861–1936, and was a professor, minister, and an author. His wife, Annie Pierce Kincaid, 1852–1915. Married 1876. Following a severe thunderstorm in 1876 or 1877, Annie developed a nervous disorder that left her progressively impaired for the duration of her life. If you would like to learn more about his life, get the book by Jessica Parks on the guide to his life and writings. I have it in my collection on Biblia. It will give you more information than I provided here. The book has a copyright, so one will not share any more from it. In my next podcast, I will share his thoughts on the Christian's attitude toward death. Until then, have a great day.